Welcome to the Old Iron Lover channel. My name is Bob, and today's video is going to be installing a DRO on my little Bridgeport mill here. The DRO I got is from Shooting Stars, and it's a company in Canada. I'll give you the particulars. I'll put them in the description. The kit's pretty straightforward. It's an inexpensive kit. It has all the features and everything of a DRO Pro's machine, but it has the basic features, and it's exactly what I needed, and for probably half the price, or maybe a little more than what a normal or what another DRO might run. You can get cheap ones too, but you probably get what you pay for. Anyway, just a quick look at what comes in the kit. You get 3 readers and the bars that go with them. The one for the x-axis, the one for the knee, and the one for the y-axis. Now this mill is a short bed mill, and believe it or not, it actually works pretty well for me. I don't really, once in a while I wish I had the long bed. For the most part, this is fine. And as such, I've got not a lot of X motion, and I would wind up cutting this measuring rod, or I'll show you what it is in a second, but I wind up cutting it way short. So I got looking into it, and I thought, well, here's what we got. The one that's intended for the knee is just exactly, well, I'll say exactly the right size. It's just a little bit long, and that's perfect for what I need. It fits on the back of the mill and everything just perfectly. I'll give you a little close-up of what it looks like. You've got a little rack underneath there, and I hope you can see that okay. And then you have a reader on the front, or on the back, depending on which way you turn it. And the reader, I suspect, I haven't taken it apart, but I suspect it has some wheel that rolls with like a micrometer, a dial caliper, but dial caliper would roll on a rack, and there's a counting circuit in there that counts how far that wheel is turned, and has a little cover over it for whenever you get it all together. Since I don't need to cut this one to fit my x-axis, I can use this one probably for either my y or my z-axis, and I don't need to cut it, so I only have one I need to cut, and that I think is a big bonus. And they're clear that you can cut these to whatever length you need. They do caution you to be careful about the rack, don't damage it. So I'm going to set this stuff aside for a few minutes, talk about what I think is the way to install it. There's the readout, and I'll give you the link to it, and you could, if you were interested in all the functions and that, you can go on their site and see how it works. So the first thing I would recommend you do is measure your travel in all 3 directions, and keep that in mind when you're setting up the readers and the little racks. My thought would be to keep the racks as long as you can, or at least a couple of inches longer than they need to be, just in case something comes up and you wish you hadn't cut it off yet. Leave it whatever you can do. In my case, I can have this whole table for the X motion, even though, and that would probably give me 18 or 20 inches of travel on the rack, and my table only moves 16 inches or a little more. So the second thing I would say is to establish a datum that you want to work from. And the idea is that you want your rack to be exactly parallel in 2 directions with the motion that you're going to see when, like in this case, I traverse it back and forth. that doesn't necessarily mean that my datums I'm going to pick is the back and the top. And it's possible they're out just a little bit, so I may have to make some adjustments installing the rack so I get it true to the direction of motion. So I'm going to grab my little indicator here and see what we can come up with as far as reading how accurate this back of this table is cut. Gonna have to do a little finagling here. It probably would have been easier if I had not put these rubber covers on, but I really like having the rubber covers on. Now we could take them off if we had to and go ahead and... This is the mini Noga, which is a little stiff here. There we go. Okay, I finally got it in place. Now I'm going to move the camera over on another tripod so we can see the dial and all that. Okay, so I'm going to run the y-axis in a little bit here so I can get some preload on the dial. And I think I'll just run it all the way down to one end or the other. Okay, now we'll zero this thing. And if luck is with us, like I say, if luck is with us, we should stay pretty true to 0 all the way across here. If not, well, at least we know how much we need to make adjustments for on the rack. So we ran, about, I think about 2/1000ths end to end, which is not too bad, 1/1000th and a half. That's well within the tolerances they say in the manual that the rack and the reader will stand. They're talking like 5/1000ths. So I trust this is a good datum. I think it's going to work fine. I don't have to, if I have my rack installed dead parallel to this, I think we're good. Now let's get to the other axis and have a look at how parallel it is here. This mill came out of a high school shop from back in the 60s, and so it does have some wounds and things on it. I've honed it down or stoned it a little bit to take all the high spots off, and I think I've done the best I can with it. Let me get moved over. Okay, now we're all the way to the right. We're going to move to the left and see how our dial reads. So I would call that good. We don't hardly have any from one end to the other, we're almost dead on, and in the middle we have 1/1000th or a little more. So if we have the rack parallel this way to the top of this thing, we're good too, I think. So I'm going to move it back to approximately the middle, and we'll install the rack and see how it fits. So, get my rack. Now I've already mounted the bracket to the reader head, and I pulled this off so I could just get a better look at things and get a better feel for how it's moving. So what we're going to do, I've already pre-drilled the holes. As is typical when I make these videos, I try things out a little bit first to make sure I don't have a whole lot of repetitive motion trying to get something that makes sense on the video. So I do have some holes pre-drilled, and they may not be just exactly what I want yet. So the rack may not be parallel. I haven't checked that yet, so that's going to be the first exercise when we get this set in place. They also, in the instructions, say don't rotate the rack and the reader relative to each other. Keep them in place. I suspect the idea there is that the reader is, if you turn it too far, is going to get jammed up on the track and kind of make a mess of things. So, but I think just sitting there on its own weight is probably okay. The guys from Shooting Star can probably tell me better. Hope I'm not blocking this too badly to get this screw started. Take it out a little bit to get some reading room here. Oh, I need the other screwdriver. There it is. Okay, those are almost snug. So the first thing I want to do is read how far from here to the actual edge of the rack. Well, getting back to measuring the trueness that the rack rod there has with the tail, both on this face and this face, I tried a couple of different ways. First, I thought I'd try something quick and dirty. Got my dial caliper, or my digital caliper. I thought I would just measure, as square as I could, right onto here like so. Check the two ends. Well, I found out that I just couldn't get consistent with that. And maybe it's me. Well, it must be me. It's the only variable in the thing. What I found works about the best was the old adjustable parallel trick. Basically, I slid an adjustable parallel in there until it just drags a little bit. Take it out, we'll measure it. And it looks like we are 991. Yeah, we're still at 999, somewhere in there. So we are sitting a few thousandths off. And I think what I will do is I'm going to take the bushing out of that side and take about 7,000, or what do we have, 999, 991, take about 8 thousandths off of the end of it. And that way we know that this assembly is the same on this end as it is on that end, and the middle, if nothing interfered with it, it should be the same too. We just need to make sure that when we space out the reader head, that it doesn't pull the center of it in or out any distance. So let's grab this thing real quick and okay, we're going to touch off. Zero our dial. Take about 8 thousandths. Take the burrs off. And we'll reset it and see how we did. Okay, let's remeasure that, see if we gained the appropriate amount. We're at 992, and we were 991 and a half over there. So we have it set end to end. These two ends are the same distance out. Now the next thing we need to do is make sure that we have the, kick the camera, that we have the same measurement in here where this thing is pulling it, potentially pulling it in or out. So let's tighten these mount screws back up. Measure it right now where it is as it touches this. feels about as good as it's going to get. Reading 999 on that side. And let's check the other side and see what it looks like. $9.89. So I'm going to check the far side again, and we may actually take a little bit off of the bushing on this end. There's a fine line between getting a good measurement and displacing the reader head a little bit. I'm getting 997, 998 this time. So it looks to me like we probably ought to look at taking about 6 thousandths or so off of this shim here, or these bushing here, spacer, whatever. I could feel it had just a little bit of tension on it as I pulled it out. So we'll say we'll take about 6 thousandths off of this one. And this is, we're probably well within the accuracy that's needed, but while we're here, why not make it as good as we can? So we're touching off. We'll back out. We're going to give ourselves another 6. Take it off. Okay, cut out. Two-burr the inside. Two-burr the outside. Okay, give it another measurement. We're sitting at about 995, which is just fine. Get another measurement, check it again. Yeah, we're still 995. So we're within 5 thousandths all the way around in this plane. I'm happy with that. Now let's go look at the reference to the top of the table and see how it measures down to here. And again, finding a way to measure this is a little bit cumbersome. And I decided that the best way to do it that I could think of was to clamp a 1, 2, 3 block in, like so. And here I am going to use the dial caliper, the digital calipers, because I don't have enough rod on my depth mics to measure it. So, okay, I have it set up so I can go through one of these holes and land right on top of the rod there, which should give me a pretty good measurement. And I'm reading 3356. So let's measure this one and see if it's the same height from the top of the 1, 2, 3 block. 3366, 3356. We're 10 thousandths lower on this side. Now, while we're here, let's do the same thing for the actually, this is something we might be able to fix here. They make these holes slightly oversized. So let's loosen this and just bring it up however far it'll move. Tighten it again. Let's see how that looks. $3,357. Now we're right on the money. So we've got 5.6 on one end and 5.7 on the other end within 1,000th. So let's do the same thing we did before with the horizontal measurement. We're going to move the measurement system in a little bit here and measure right at where the reader head is. We're at 3,350. And over here, we're 3,367. So it's twisted this way. We're going to give it a little twist back up this way and see if we can bring it in alignment. And before we got too far down the road here, I had already slotted these the holes that Shooting Star built into it. Okay, let's get another measurement. $3,360, and if we're still the right amount here, 3,357. We are within 5 thousandths on both sides now. So we're going to call that good, and we basically have this aligned. Okay, I've got a dial indicator set up here so we can do one last check. We're going to tram the table back and forth and see that it doesn't deflect the reader head any. We'll do this in both this axis and this axis. So zero this thing out. Okay, we were within 5 thousandths from one end to the other. I think that's totally acceptable. And I'm going to switch the DI around so we can read the other axis. Okay, now we're going to trim it back the other way. See that it stays put there. And we're about 8 thousandths or so there. Again, perfectly acceptable. That's okay. I'm going to stop. So the last order of business was to put this protective cover over the top of it so it doesn't get anything dropped on it from above the table, or you have to keep the trash out of it as much as we can. The other thing it does is when we put the reader head in, there isn't enough clearance between the column and the table to fit the reader head at, when you run it all the way back to the back. So the idea is that get that rubber out of the way. There we go. That's about as far as the y-axis comfortably goes. You could jam it a little further, but I might consider putting a block or something right in here to positively stop the reader head from hitting the front of the column there. Maybe something you'll see later, maybe. Alrighty, now we got it fired up and all hooked up to everything. Should have the quill clear, and it is. So I can move the quill handle around all I want. Some time ago I added this little quill readout. It's an inexpensive thing. I don't think it was over 60 bucks. It's worked fairly well. I had to cut the scale down and build some brackets for it and everything, but I use this a lot with the quill. Got to remember to turn the power off. It doesn't turn itself off. So anyway, here we are. We're going to... Okay, I want this to be the positive direction on the X, and that is... So basically I'm moving the cutting tool relative to the part to the right. I'm moving the cutting tool this direction. I want it to be more positive, and that one's backwards. And the knee working up and down, there's up, there's down. That one works properly. There we go. So I've reversed the y-axis. Now let's see if it does what I want to do. Okay, it's getting positive as I move. That's negative. There we go. It's getting more positive as I move. So as I move the tool in to the right and up, those are the positive directions for the axis, and that's relative to the work. So if I had a block of steel I'm going to machine, the the most negative direction is the left front bottom corner, and the most positive direction is the right back upper corner. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, a lot of functions we'll have to explore, but that just gives you an idea that the thing actually works. So I probably will not put any guards over the y-axis just because there's just no mechanical way to do it, at least not reasonably. I will probably try to get some sort of protection over the z-axis because it's back behind her where something could potentially land on it, but the main thing I wanted was to get this protected. That's it. If you like the video, please give me thumbs up, and as always, helpful comments be welcome, and certainly subscribe. That gives me the kind of a measurement of how many people are interested, and if there's enough interest, of course I keep making these things. If there's not, I just probably keep making them but slower. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it.